Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you one of the projects I have done from the beginning of July. Now I have some intermediary results, so I want to share with you. So basically this project is based on the framework of Nested Chat published by AutoGen. So basically if you go to AutoGen documentation and you check this nested chat page, it will describe to you how the different scenario works with the orchestration of the nested chat. So if you are interested, you can go over the whole document, see how it performs. One thing I would like to mention is that because most of the AutoGen example and the results are run based on the backend of GPT-4 model, so its results may be quite different from the open source models. I'm not arbitrarily define the open source model as inferior because there are many benchmarks, as you can see in different social media channel and also the Hugging Face. For example, you can see there are a lot of analysis saying that the open source model is approaching to the level of answer precision and different benchmark. They are going to approach the closed source model. However, in my use case, I still find that there are some gaps. So now let's read the summarization from ChatGPT. Actually, this framework nested chat refers to the process where a receiver agent, after receiving a message from sender agent, may initiate multiple internal chats with other agents. Okay, I'm just going to stop here because in my understanding, it is actually, for example, if we have several agents talking in a round table, it's like several people have a meeting. Okay, you have different ways to organize, like a sequence to ask who to speak first, who to answer first, and how to go back and forth, and how many rounds of chat you want. In this case, nested chat is like you have a smaller subgroup. Okay, it's a subgroup structure where you can refine the answer before present to the user proxy or to the for us to see. Okay, so there are some examples. I prefer to read the official documentation, but from here you can see a very shortened, okay, very summarized information. You see, you need to define the task. Of course, you need to define the agents, right? And the most important part is the user proxy register nested chat. This is the key part of the chat orchestration. Okay, so it's not like in the other example that you initiate a chat. This one is actually to register nested chat. So the package or the program will understand how to orchestrate this nested chat. So like you ask the agent to write a story for you, it will have a critic in the nested chat. So critic will critique it and also improve the writing with the writer and then present you the final result. Yeah. Um, but of course, as you can see here, if you want to expand, want to have more complicated, complex, nested chat structure, you can do that. But I would suggest that when you handle the package like AutoGen, just do gradual improvements or gradual modification. Later, I'm going to show you some of the journeys, some of the experience I had during this period of developing. Now we are back to the VS Code interface. You can see some similarity with my previous projects. Basically, we have the app Python file as a main program file to actually execute the very important execution sentences and to organize the workflow. And we also have the agents file. We have also the configuration file. The API key, I just use a random number to hide the actual API key I use. I'm using GROQ as backend because such a program, when you test it, the speed of the backend is quite essential. Okay, you can You cannot just, for example, my local machine is very slow. I cannot wait 2 or 3 hours just to see a group chat results. Okay. I mean, if it becomes very complicated, it could take several minutes, even 10 minutes, okay? And the most complicated case where I let a local large language model to run continuously, and it is a relatively big model, it can take 2 or 3 hours. So the suggestion is that if you want to experiment some of the projects, GROQ is a good option because it's really fast. But pay attention, most of the models are quantized model. It is for me, I understand it as a shrinked model. So of course it has limited capability than the complete model. Okay. Then I also have the workflow Python file to actually define some of the workflow. Okay. In here, uh, there, of course, if you want to separate it, put it here is okay, or you can just put it in the app.py file. Okay, so let's go back to C. So I'm going to explain mainly on this part. So basically, first part is importing the different packages. Then we define the task. The reason I'm writing some of the predefined task is sometimes I want a quick test without manually input a lot of information. Okay, you can input your prompt however you want. Okay, there is also an option. And then I show this markdown in the page. Of course, now because I add some of the explanation sentences here, you're going to see in the app page. But when you delete, it will be fine. So we also have some sidebar functions to let's choose a model and do a lot of things. So basically, you can also choose the temperature if you set it correctly. Okay, as I said, if you want to interact with the large language model to improve your code writing, it's better to gradually increase the complexity of your program. So, like now, I have not done all the tests necessary to make sure that my application is robust, which means are all the functions called, are all the variables called, are all the lists correctly set up. So eventually, if you want to have a very robust program, you need to check a lot of things, test a lot of things. Okay, so that's what I suggest you to do. For example, now I might have some error. Okay, most of the contents are generated by a large language model. Of course, I get it step by step. I change some variable, change some sentence. But in general, if you want to publish it, if you want to present this project, please do more checking and test. And of course, there are some additional steps, but here I'm going to say the first important part is to create the agent. So agent has different definitions, have different functions. You always need to define it. Okay, so one way to do this, I can put the documentation description into large language model, say what I want, ask the model to give me feedback of the code. But this code may have some problem. For example, some of the functions are not called. We have some idle sentences. Okay, these such kind of thing are not good for your program. Okay. Then we have the button like the how we initialize this nested chat. Okay. And here for the graphical chats is the chat I really want that the program can do for me. So to provide me with additional graph, financial analysis, and peer review. So far, this part does not work as what I want. So basically, there are some issues here. So if the agent get the code correctly, it can run, okay, can run the code. But to display the graph in the streamlit interface, I cannot resolve this problem. I cannot display it. Okay, this is a problem I left for the future projects. The other thing is that if you want, like I said, the complexity in the example, official example, is to draft some of the reports and to iterate, use large language model as a critique. So as a critique, I mean it could be like if I'm a person, it's very subjective, right? I can talk, even without some of the fundamental base to back my opinion. So in the official example, you cannot see a lot of variations of the execution of the program. But when you like my example, I go to production, I will see a lot of issues. For example, I would like to say, okay, nested chat has the main purpose actually to get the stock information, analyze, write report. Okay, then I wanted to get the graphical information, financial information, and also do some peer comparison. Okay, it's not very okay. So like I said, one step forward to increase the complexity of the program. I think it requires more expertise over the programming language. So that's what I'm going to improve. Eventually, we have the result processing. Okay, result processing like the summary and output and so on. Yeah, you are going to see the results later. Then you can see here, display financial visualization, conversation history. I mean, mainly the financial visualization, this part is the most difficult part. I have not yet resolved the issue. Okay, for conversation history, and also the channel of the summary, we are going to check later. Okay, so now I'm going to review one of the chat detail and also the result with you. For this one, actually, I ask the application to analyze 3 random SP500 report stock and to show me the analytical result. Okay, so basically this is what I get from the app, okay, from the web page. And I can see it's a very comprehensive report. You see the title is okay. Unveiling financial landscape, 3 of the SP500 stock analyzed. Okay, so it says it picked Nvidia, Microsoft, or Disney. Okay, so because my prompt, if I remember correctly, is not very complicated and does not have many constraints. The main thing I would ask it to remember is that today is September 6, 2024. And please show the citations, show where you get the data, okay? So from the appearance of this report, you will say, okay, this model has, this chart has given me some very useful information. But if you look closely, I already examined some of the data. They are all wrong. This is the hallucination results, okay? And you see, especially in the citation part, is general citation. It's like the model makes it up. Okay, so if, for example, for serious matters like financial analysis, if you have the wrong data, basically it's useless. And let's see the chat result. So basically, the framework will start the chat and chat manager. The first assistant will start the work. Okay, this is my prompt. Okay, analyze 3 random chosen stock in SP500. I want the price, financial, market sentiment, show sources if you say anything, show dates of all data, use latest data available. Today is which day? Okay, so my prompt is quite complicated. Of course, in my program, it cannot decipher this task. If you see my previous video, we have it's called agent chat. I remember is you have the free tier and the paid tier usage possibility for that tool. I have tried before. It actually has a very good framework to decipher your task, separate to smaller tasks. So it could be an improvement in the future. But let's see. So basically, the inner assistant starts to work. Okay. So inner assistant, based on this task you gave it, it actually starts to write code, execute code, and so on. Okay. But you see, whenever I see this program actually touch some API key, I know it's a dead end because large language model know some of the successful data retrieving method is to link to an API and get financial data. But this API, if never offered by me, okay, in any of the agent chat, it will not get the necessary information because it cannot just make up this API key. So whenever I see this API key, I know this chat will most likely give a failure results. Okay, so actually as it goes on, you can see, yeah, all the steps are described very comprehensively. You see even the sentiment analysis, right? Okay, and let's run the code. Yeah, and also error fixing, okay, also mentioned. So by this step, it actually stopped. Okay, and there is a new chat directly to polish the content and make an engaging and nicely formatted blog post. Okay, so this part is actually directly citing the official documents of AutoGen of Nested Chat. So the assistant actually still acts as a report writer. Okay, so here it does not get any information, any true information that we needed. So it continues to do the job. Okay, so you can see this is actually useless because all the data are fake. Okay, so then the writer continues to say, okay, now we write this report, okay, until here, and we see a reviewer. They basically just continue to repeat the things again and again. So there is basically no improvements. And you see there is also a reviewer to review the compliance. Okay, the compliance is a quite broad concept, because if you are going to say compliance, it depends on what you say. If you are saying the compliance to the exposure to the publication of financial report is one thing. Okay, especially the financial analysts, they need to follow a lot of compliance issues. So that is just one example, okay. But in general, the compliance issue, it actually said the regulatory, okay, compliance and so on. It looks good, okay. And it also analyzes the compliance of different tools like the NLTK and the sentiment analysis and so on. Although it did not run that code, okay. But it shows the compliance review. Yeah, so actually this chat continues to polish. I do not see any improvements. Okay, so it just go on, and eventually we get the summarized report similar to the previous chat. Okay, so I'm going to say this is not what I really want. So there are several issues at this moment. I'm quite certain. First of all, my prompt is not optimal for the agent's workflow to understand it. Second, the design of the chat or the roles of the agents should be further improved. So, especially you see, like the critique, how does it identify this information is not actually get from the correct data source? Okay, once I know that you are making something up, can we stop the chat? I think I need to have some safety switch. Okay, and the models are very important, because when you change the model, like this one, I think I used the LLaMA 3.170b, if I remember correctly. But if you change the model, the results are so many. There will be so many variations. One example is that when you change to the tool calling version of the large language model, there will be only code. Okay, no description, no summary. Okay, these are just some of the examples I shared with you. So let's go and check the other parts. Now let's go to the app interface. So basically the first one I would like to show you is that I manually input this prompt. Analyze NVIDIA, Microsoft, Adobe. Today is which date? Show past month's performance, market sentiment. Give me an analytical report. You can see in general, we just scroll very quick. You can see this is a very well structured report. But the problem is that the information is not accurate. So in my backend, it has not actually calculated well the information. Yeah, because I already checked, some of the information are very distant from the actual information. So even if it's a good looking report, it is wrong. Okay, and you see there are also some defects here, like financial visualization and the chat history. Okay, so I guess a conversation history would be better to save in a PDF or in other formats. And of course, nobody will just check all the history except when they try to debug. Okay, financial visualization. I think there is a problem about showing that in streamlit, because large language model device a code. If you run it in an environment, you get a picture. But how to bring that picture to this page? It is not so easy. If I write a code and run it directly in the page, I think I needed to improve my front end skill. It could be attainable because I see some examples like in the streamlit and the Gladio website. There are some interesting examples if you want to check. Okay, but so on. What I know is that okay, this workflow. Okay, I have some very good layout of the app. I know reports, but for the accuracy of the data, how to really enforce the model to get actual data and stop if it cannot do it. I think a more robust flow control could be useful. Okay. Now let's take a look at another example. This example is that I prompt the program to see when does Microsoft reach the price higher than 400 US dollar, comment on the stock performance, and make a pleasant joke. Okay, it actually checked the report actually shows that it checked the historical record, but as you see on the left hand side, I write the hard code to get from Y-Finance the data, and you see this March 19. This data is not matching with the report. It's quite interesting because you see the 2024 March 19, for example, you see there is no price matching 414. It's not very different, but it's not 100% matching. Okay, and we see the previous day the open price is 414.25. It's also not matching. So there are still some problem, either hallucination or inaccurate data, right? But as you can see, this report generally looks fine, and behind the scene factors contribute to Microsoft success. It actually, I think some of the information is from a very old news source. Okay, but in general, the layout is okay, and you can see there is also a compliance review report. Okay, and the problem is still the accuracy of the data. Okay, so in order to debug this, you need to check all the chat history and see if some of the definition of the roles of the agent workflow is okay. So let's see. This is another example. Pick 10 text stock and analyze. It actually picks some of the stock and also shows some of the information here. Okay, like the revenue and so on. This one I think FB should be Meta, but it missed. It cannot figure out. Facebook now changed the name. I have not yet cross-checked all the data, but from a direct view, if you are familiarized with financial reports, there's no such rounding. No such rounding for all the numbers. So largely, I would assume that most of the data should be rechecked and they are not accurate. Okay, but in general, the layout is okay, and you can see there is also some citations mentioned. And here is another example. So basically, I have a definition of this app. Okay, as you can see in different example, I focus on financial analysis and stock analysis. But this one, I deviate from the predefined task. I ask it to generate some AI news. Yes, it can get some news. Okay, in August. Okay, and you can see there are different news and so on, but the sources is not very convincing. You see, there's no URL, right? And there is another example. I just ask it to analyze the Microsoft stock price. And you can see it actually goes back to January. Okay, let's see January 24th. Let's see if the data is reliable. Okay, 24. Yeah. July 24th, we don't have data. Let's see 25 like this. Yeah, sorry, January 20. We see the price. Okay, you see, it's completely wrong. Okay, I guess I would like to say if the large language, if my setting is wrong, I change my setting. If I actually build this Y-Finance tool as a tool and to call it directly is a tool calling process, which I think which would be much easier because at least we have the right starting point of all the correct data. Okay, but you see it actually analyze some of the metrics like alpha beta to analyze the different metrics. I think it looks okay in general, but if the data is wrong, everything is wrong. Let's see the last one. Okay, this one actually ask it to generate the AI news in Italy. and show some courses, resources, okay, like where you to get the information, the citation. Let's see this one, if it is okay. Okay, so you see it's empty. UniCredit is empty. Microsoft, okay, there is no such page. So still, today I showed you that for the nested chat, of course, you can get better results. As the official example said, if you want to write something, polish something, you have a critique, it will actually improve the whole process. But the critique, I mean, we can have a roundtable, ask you to join the chat, give some critique, give some comments, right? But if we have a nested structure, actually the whole workflow will look better, and you can focus sometimes to debug only a part of the nested chat. Okay, for example, one nested chat is about critique, we can focus on that. I think this is the main advantage. But to actually bring the to production, like I already did, I have many tests and also many trials. The issue at this moment is that it's quite difficult to ask a large language model to directly involve in the development of the streamlit app and give a very robust results. Okay, like I said, there are several steps we could improve. First of all, we can hard code some of the tools and to call the tool. Second of all, we can re-examine the whole workflow and check the workflow and improve it. The last one is that to incrementally debug or rebuild the tool. So like now as I have the code companion, every time I ask it to build something complicated, it's very difficult for it. Okay, so incrementally, one block at a time, maybe you will get better results. So today I just show you one of the project that I have worked on. I see some results, not perfect, but could be a very good starting point. I'm going to improve it. In the future, if I have some good news to get some better results, I'm going to share with you. Okay. Wish you happy coding with large language model and to explore more of the current AI trend. Right? If you have any question, any doubts, feel free to leave a comment. We can explore them together. Thank you. Have a nice time. Bye bye.